Hey Clear Lake peeps, Ross England here with Clear Lake Guide Service with your fishing report for we'll call it June 18th, 2020. And I'm holding the camera kind of goofy so I can turn it around and you can see this is part of the conditions report. This is on the upper end of the lake. I'm about 1.5 miles out from Corinthian Bay. And what you can see is an olive brown color, literally for about as far as you can see to the other side of the lake. There's a little bit of a dividing line, but the way things are going, I anticipate with the hot weather that we still have today, tomorrow, and Saturday, I think this is going to get worse. So now if you go to the other end of the lake, down there from about Monitor down, sorry for all the juggling and jiggling, on the other end of the lake from about Monitor on down, it's the pea soupy, green algae. So we've finally gotten to the point where the algae has taken over and taken over well. Hasn't really affected the fishing as far as I can tell. I still rate the fishing as good. I'm wrapping up a day of just goofing around right now, kind of looking for I was trying to look for some easy fish for my great nephew, Caleb, who's going to be here this weekend. Looking forward to taking him out. The kid loves to fish. And I was really looking for some easy fish. And I found some. The problem is, I caught 19 fish this morning. Started at 8 and I quit, probably a half an hour ago because I've just been goofing around, kind of idling around, looking on my graph, trying to figure out something. And 15 of those fish came in 3 groups of 5. So I had 2 separate docks that I caught a limit of fish off of. And then I had another little stretch that I caught some topwater fish off of, which produced another 5 fish. And then it was just kind of one here, one there. A couple of spots. I fished the Narrows today. I was one of probably 6 boats on the south side of the Narrows at one point. I didn't see anybody catch fish. I didn't catch fish, never got bit. Also, never even graphed any fish. So that's the way I usually fish, by the way. I fish first. If I catch them, then I just go on to the next spot. If I don't catch them, then I graph and say, well, of course you dummy, they weren't there. You're supposed to do it the other way around, and I haven't figured that part out yet. So anyway, fishing was pretty good. It's definitely, the water I think has dropped about 1 foot over the last week and a half, and you can see it going around the lake. You can see rocks that still have green moss and algae that's 10 inches to 1 foot out of the water. You get back in some of the areas up in Lakeport and Nice, and you've got some docks that are extremely difficult to get into because of the weed growth. And for me, that's the stuff that I really like this time of year. It's a lot of work, but oftentimes you can pop into some of those docks, and once you work your way into them, there's a little treasure trove of fish under each one of them. And that was kind of the case. Both the docks that I did well off of today with multiple fish, I actually, as I was sitting there, I could see some fish swimming around. The water wasn't clear enough to sight fish unless I was finding fish in 3 feet of water. But, as I kind of cruised through the weeds, you could see a fish here, a fish there. If I had been throwing a frog, I think I probably could have caught some frogfish in some of the weed mats because there was plenty of fish just sitting on edges protecting fry. The few times that I actually picked up a topwater, which was a popper today, I did catch what I'm pretty sure were fry garters, either fry garters or fry eaters, which usually it's the same fish. So anyway, the deepest fish I caught this week, probably 7 or 8 feet, and that's probably not because I didn't fish deeper than that. I just didn't do well. Last week we were able to catch some fish out in 20, 21, 22 feet of water, and it just, the little bit I tried it just didn't happen for me. So not going to say there's not a deep bite. Those of you who know me very well, Jim is my witness. I caught several jig fish off of docks earlier in the week. So there's got to be one heck of a jig bite, because if I can throw a jig and catch fish, there's a really good bite for somebody who really knows what they're doing and likes to fish them. So for us, it was a couple different topwater baits. We caught fish on chatterbaits this week, up and around the weed beds, and a couple jig fish, a couple shaky head fish, drop shot fish. So kind of our usual for this time of year. So events, I think there's supposed to be a higher entry fee tournament that goes out of Konocti Vista. I think it's run by ABA Saturday. I think it's $600 a team or something like that, and it's supposedly limited to 30 teams. I saw something posted on it, so I don't know that for a fact, but I think that's what's going to happen Saturday. And then the other news around here is officially almost everything is opened back up. I'm not going to say that the guiding is opened back up 100% yet. There's people out here getting away with it and doing it, which is fine. Hotels, motels, the casinos, dine-in restaurant, and some of the restaurants in Lakeport have done a really good job taking some outside space and expanding their seating area. Of course, it's outside and it's hot, but the food's still good. So those are all things that have happened up here. Still not completely done up here. I'm not going to start guiding until July 6th, like I told you all before. Everything is still blocked off on my calendar until then. Anything after that you want to book, feel free to hit the calendar, give me a call, and we'll get you set up. Today was just another day where I just was going around looking for something, and some of it I found and some of it I didn't. So I think the bite's pretty good, and it's usually pretty consistent this time of year. Look for the heat to get to be, kind of tough for some people to manage, maybe even myself this year, later in the week. But I'll tell you, I caught 2 of my topwater fish, and my 2 best worm fish were in the last 45 minutes that I fished today, and there's hardly anybody out here. It's hot, don't get me wrong, but there's hardly anybody out here. So I think if I had just wanted to beat myself to death and stuck with my topwater, I could have continued catching fish, because that bite's pretty good. And boy, they weren't messing around with it. They just flat ate it. They had it in their mouth sideways or completely in their mouth, which is always a good thing. So I think that's probably going to do it for today. Oh, water temperature. If you're in an area like this one that has a lot of this algae on the surface, then what I was finding was 75 to 77 degrees. This morning when I launched at 8 o'clock, it was 70.2, something like that. Later in the day, when I found clear water again, it was 71. So, it's all over the board, but it's definitely warm enough for these fish to be active. Almost all the fish that I caught today and the fish that Jim and I caught earlier in the week really, really looked healthy. Very few of them, had a ton of holes in them. They didn't look beat up. They didn't have sores on them. So everything was looking good. I think summer is going to be fun up here. It's going to be toasty, but it's going to be fun. So that'll do it. If you want to book a trip, give me a call. 707-349-1427 or clearlakeguideservice.com. Check us out on Facebook and all that rot. We'll post as we can when we can. So all you folks, have a good weekend. We're just going to play this weekend.